In 2019, a Christian pastor in Tennessee went viral. He posted, "Islam is the religion of violence. Christianity is the religion of peace. The evidence is clear." The tweet got 47,000 retweets, mostly from Christians agreeing. Then, a historian responded with side-by-side comparisons. Within 24 hours, the pastor deleted the tweet, because when you actually line them up, side by side, the pattern is impossible to ignore. This isn't a defense of Islam. This is a mirror. 7 attacks Christians make on Islam. All of them. Every single one. Boomerangs. Let's count them down.
Number 7. The leaders you follow. The Christian claim. Muslim clerics are corrupt hypocrites. Look at their wealth, their hypocrisy. Let's talk about Pope Alexander VI. Multiple mistresses, 7 acknowledged children, poisoned his political rivals. His son, Cesare, murdered his own brother. This was the vicar of Christ, God's representative on earth. For centuries, the Catholic Church sold tickets to heaven, literally. Pay money, reduce your time in purgatory. The corruption was so obvious that Martin Luther started the Reformation specifically because of it. Modern day, Kenneth Copeland, net worth $760 million. Private jets. Won't fly commercial because, his words, he doesn't want to sit in a long tube with a bunch of demons. Jim Baker, fraud conviction. Jimmy Swaggart, prostitutes. Ted Haggard, drugs and male escorts. And the priest abuse scandal. Thousands of cases. Children violated by those meant to protect their souls. Systematic cover-ups that reached the highest levels.
You want to compare corrupt religious leaders? Are you sure about that? That's number 7, but it gets worse.
How you react to criticism. The Christian claim. Muslims can't handle criticism. They riot over cartoons, death threats over books. The Satanic Verses, 1989. Ayatollah Khomeini issued a fatwa. Salman Rushdie has lived under protection ever since. Charlie Hebdo, 2015. 12 people killed for publishing cartoons. Christians point to this and say, see, they can't handle free speech. Let's rewind 400 years. 1600, Giordano Bruno, burned at the stake in Rome. His crime? Suggesting the universe might be infinite. That contradicted church teaching. Galileo, forced to recant his scientific findings, spent his final years under house arrest. His crime? Saying the earth revolves around the sun. Michael Servetus, 1553, burned alive in Geneva by Protestants, John Calvin's followers. His crime? Denying the Trinity. For over 1,000 years in Christian Europe, criticizing church doctrine could get you imprisoned, tortured, burned alive, legally. The Catholic Church kept an index of forbidden books until 1966, just 58 years ago. Reading the wrong book was a sin that could get you excommunicated.
Christianity spent 1,500 years killing people who criticized it. Freedom of speech? That came from the Enlightenment, not the church. The church actually fought against it. Notice the pattern forming? Corrupt leaders, violent reactions to criticism. It's the same pattern, different names, different centuries, but the next one is where it gets personal.
Number 5. How you treat half the population. The Christian claim. Look how Islam treats women, hijabs, honor killings, second-class citizens. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. That's Paul. That's in the Bible. 1 Corinthians 14. Women should remain silent in the churches. They are not allowed to speak. Women in Christian Europe and America couldn't own property until the 1800s in most places. Couldn't vote until 1920 in America. 1971 in Switzerland, 50 years ago. Couldn't open a bank account without a husband's permission until 1974. Marital rape wasn't illegal in all 50 states until 1993, just 31 years ago. The witch trials. Tens of thousands executed. 80% were women. Their crimes? Being widowed, being poor, owning property, talking back. Today, right now, the Catholic Church still excludes women from priesthood entirely. Most Protestant denominations won't ordain women.
Women couldn't vote in Christian America until 1920, couldn't have their own bank account until 1974. But please, tell me more about Islam and women. Individual hypocrisy, violent reactions, systemic oppression, but this next one affects everyone.
Number 4. What laws you impose. The Christian claim. Muslims want Sharia law to rule everyone. Theocracy is dangerous. Christian nationalism. Right now, today, America. Explicit calls for biblical law to govern the nation. The Seven Mountain Mandate. Influential evangelical theology. Christians must take dominion over government, education, media, arts, business, family, religion. U.S. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, 2022. The church is supposed to direct the government. Marjorie Taylor Greene. We need to be the party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian, and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists. History. The Papal States. The Pope ruled central Italy as a king for over 1,000 years. Armies, taxes, executions. Calvin's Geneva. Theocracy. Adultery punishable by death. Puritan Massachusetts. Theocracy. Quakers executed for dissent. Today. Blue laws. Can't buy alcohol on Sundays in many states. In God We Trust on the money. Added in 1956. One nation under God in the pledge. Added in 1954. Both added during the Cold War to contrast with godless communism.
Christians imposed religious law on government for 1,700 years. Separation of church and state didn't come from Christianity. It came from people trying to escape Christian theocracy. And now we cross into violence.
Number 3. Who kills for God? The Christian claim. Muslims commit terrorism in God's name. The Ku Klux Klan. Burned crosses. Lynched thousands. Bombed churches. Explicitly Christian. Church-going Protestants. They held Bible studies. Quoted scripture at rallies. Believed they were doing God's work. Protecting Christian America. The Lord's Resistance Army. Uganda. Joseph Kony. Kidnapped 30,000 children. Mass murder. Mass rape. Fighting for a government based on the 10 Commandments. His words. Anti-abortion terrorism in America. 1993. Dr. David Gunn. Shot and killed. 1994. Dr. John Britton. Shot and killed. 1998. Dr. Barnett Slepian. Shot and killed in his home. 2009. Dr. George Tiller. Shot and killed in church while ushering. The killers quoted scripture at their trials, said they were saving babies, believed it was God's will. Anders Breivik, Norway, 2011. 77 people dead, mostly teenagers at summer camp. 1,500-page manifesto about defending Christian Europe from Islam. Called himself a Knight Templar. Srebrenica, Bosnia, 1995. Serbian Orthodox Christians executed 8,000-plus Muslim men and boys. Largest massacre in Europe since World War II. Blessed by Orthodox priests before the killings. Northern Ireland, the Troubles. Protestants versus Catholics. Same Jesus, same Bible. Decades of bombings, assassinations, kneecappings. 3,500 dead.
Every religion has people who kill in its name. You want to play the terrorism card? Fine, but don't pretend it only goes one direction. Individual terrorism becomes something bigger, entire continents.
Number 2. How your faith spread. The Christian claim. Islam spread by the sword, convert or die. Charlemagne. Most celebrated Christian emperor of the Middle Ages, made a saint by the Catholic Church. His policy with the Saxons, convert or be executed. After one Saxon rebellion, he beheaded 4,500 prisoners in a single day. The Teutonic Knights, crusading order, conquered the Baltic peoples, Prussia, Lithuania, forced conversions at sword point. The Spanish Inquisition, Jews and Muslims given 3 choices: convert, leave, or die. Those who converted were monitored for life. Any sign of practicing their old faith? Torture, burning at the stake. The Americas, the Requerimiento, a legal document read to indigenous peoples. In Spanish, they didn't understand. It told them to accept Christianity and Spanish rule, or face war. Bartolomé de las Casas, Spanish Catholic priest, eyewitness. They took infants from their mothers' breasts, snatching them by the legs and pitching them headfirst against the crags. A Christian priest, describing what Christian conquistadors did. Indigenous population of the Americas, 60 million in 1492. By 1600, 6 million. Disease, yes, but also slaughter, enslavement, worked to death in mines. Millions of Africans, kidnapped, enslaved, forcibly converted by Christian slave traders on Christian ships to work in Christian colonies.
Islam spread by the sword. Christianity spread by the sword. The stake, the noose, the smallpox blanket, the slave ship. You conquered the entire Western Hemisphere and called it evangelism. But all of that flows from one source, the foundation.
Number 1. The God you worship. The Christian claim. Muhammad was a warlord. He led armies, fought battles. How can you follow a violent prophet? Christians follow the God of the Old Testament. Both Testaments. One God, one faith. Let's talk about what that God commanded. Numbers 31. Moses receives a command from God. Now kill all the boys, and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man. Genocide, plus taking virgin girls as spoils of war. 1 Samuel 15. God commands King Saul, "Now go, attack the Amalekites, and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." Children and infants, explicitly. Deuteronomy 20. In the cities of the nations, the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Do not leave alive anything that breathes. Anything that breathes. Joshua at Jericho. They devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. Every living thing. Psalm 137, verse 9. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. That's in the Bible. That's scripture. Muhammad fought battles, led armies. People died in warfare. Your God commanded the extermination of entire populations, men, women, children, infants, animals. Do not leave alive anything that breathes.
Every accusation Christians throw at Islam, boomerangs. This isn't whataboutism, this is a mirror. If you judge Islam by its worst history, be ready to be judged in the same way. If you want grace for Christianity's atrocities, that wasn't real Christianity, those weren't true believers, then extend some grace to others, or sit down. Here's what both sides miss. The pattern doesn't belong to Christianity or Islam or any one faith. It's a human pattern. A prophet reconnects to something real, followers gather, the message spreads, then the prophet dies. Organization emerges, power consolidates, wealth accumulates, and eventually the institution that began with love your enemy is killing people who disagree. The pastor deleted his tweet because when you actually look, the evidence isn't clear. The mirror is. If you're angry at Christians after watching this, then you missed the point. The same mirror works in reverse. Every Muslim attack on Christianity boomerangs too. The video is linked in the description. Watch both sides get exposed. Subscribe if you want content that doesn't pick sides, just exposes the pattern.